Are you using these 3 steps to intimacy? Admit it. If a hot woman came up to you at this very moment and asked you go to bed with her, you'd probably have a harder time saying no than yes. That's just how men are hardwired. If they like what they see, it takes little reason for them to get physical with a woman. Women, however, operate on a different level. Master seducers know that certain needs have to be met before she even thinks about having sex with a guy. Don't fret though, it doesn't involve mind control or groveling for her affection. All it takes is 3 simple steps to physical intimacy. Step number 1, put pair bonding into play. Here's a simple truth: if a girl isn't comfortable with you, she wouldn't consider getting physical. Wikipedia states that in biology, a pair bond is the strong affinity that develops in some species between the males and females in a pair, potentially leading to breeding. The same applies to the human species. A woman has to feel a considerable measure of closeness before she can take things to the next level. But how do you do this? Once you're past the first date, where you've gotten to know her interests, etc., you can transition to a series of activities where you can rack up enough hours to instill this sense of closeness. The pickup artist Mystery, author of the Mystery Method, even has it down to a specific number. He calls it the 7-hour rule. According to him, this is the average amount of time needed before an emotional bond can develop. Mystery recommends taking a girl to several locations, all of which depend on your girl's specific likes, where you can build enough comfort. In a typical dating routine, he and the girl drops by the store on the way home to pick up some food like barbecue fixings to subconsciously activate domestic couple fantasies in her brain. Remember, shared experiences make for a stronger emotional bond. It doesn't have to be all in one day. You can split your activities across a week. As long as the hours add up, you're on the right track. Step number 2, learn how to keep your cool. Part of a woman's attraction requirement is the ability to keep a cool head under pressure. Back in ancient times when people lived in groups to survive the harsh elements, mastery over emotions was a prized trait, something that the tribal leaders possessed. Fast forward to today, women still look for that same basic trait in a man. Although basic survival isn't a concern in the present, you can still demonstrate your emotional mastery in other ways. For instance, don't get all worked up if the waiter got your order wrong. Instead of berating him for the mistake, and looking immature in front of your date, just play it cool and poke fun at the botched order. Showing a girl that you're able to roll with the circumstances and turning them around in your favor will hit all sorts of subconscious switches in her brain, much like in the earlier example of picking out food together. Furthermore, it gives her a good idea of what kind of partner you'll be like. A guy who has a handle on his emotions is more likely to communicate with women on their frequency. This is something women appreciate in a relationship. Women in general are inclined to talk about their daily affairs from an emotional point of view. Meanwhile, men typically prefer to enumerate the events of the day in a more factual or chronological manner. So having better control over your feelings means a better chance to connect with the ladies. If you need help in this department, there's plenty of self-help material out there, like Anger Management for Dummies. You don't have to be a rageaholic to read that book, though. It has plenty of basic information on how to manage your emotions during stressful times, which applies to everyone. Step number 3, don't take yourself too seriously. One of the common mistakes that a lot of men make is that their conversations are totally devoid of any humor. This is actually related to the previous step because sticking to the facts and not injecting any emotions in your anecdotes won't bring you closer to women. Instead of just conversing, try a little flirting. Don't worry, this isn't about sexual innuendo or making sleazy comments. Rather, flirting is about being playful with your dialogue and finding humor in a situation. For instance, if you're out on a date and the guy waiting your table happens to be grouchy, you can create an inside joke with your girl instead of acting indignant and chewing him out. Say something like, "Looks like someone kicked Mr. Sunshine in the groin today. He isn't the cheeriest guy, is he?" The next time he swings by with your order and leaves, You'll probably exchange amused glances with your date and have a chuckle. Now you can make plans for another date as a way to make it up to her and eat at another place where Mr. Sunshine isn't serving the food. One particularly useful bit you can try is telling a girl about a difficult experience where you came out okay. For instance, it could be about the time you were running late for work and got busted by a stone-faced police officer for going over the speed limit. You were all flustered and sweaty, but you managed to convince Officer Stoneface to give you a break and let you off with a warning. You know how people look back on a tough times and laugh about them in retrospect? This is the same thing. By relating a difficult situation and finishing it up with a happy ending, you can generate positive, exciting emotions thanks to your light-hearted storytelling. Once you've gotten these 3 essentials sorted out, women will have no problem having sexual thoughts of you in the near future. Remember that intimacy is a process, and it just takes the right conditions to kick it in high gear. Thank you. If you would like any further advice, click the link below.